What's up, y'all? This is John and Mike back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast, live on Millions, and as always, a part of the Fans First Sports Network. Tonight, we are starting our Puncher's Chance team interviews, beginning with Andrew Ledman of the Boiler Alert podcast to talk about everyone's favorite upset team, the Purdue Spoilermakers. We're real excited about that. At the end, we're going to get on to some baseball talk, as we have to. But first, how's your weekend? What are you drinking?
Weekend's great. Everything. Everything's a weekend when you're a gym teacher in the summer. Uh, had some Southern Comfort earlier, and I'm working on some Miller High Life right
Champagne
now.
beer.
Yeah, right. It's not my favorite. I'd rather have a PBR, but we have what we have, so doing what I can. But next week it may sound a little bit different because I'll be out of town. I'll be at my mom and dad's house up in Detroit. So uh,
The different sound will be gunshots and police sirens.
I'm gonna try. I think my mom has a laptop. I'm not gonna bring mine because I don't have one. I have a work laptop, but I haven't bought one in forever. So I may bring my microphone and hook it up to hers and we'll try to make it work. But uh but yeah, I'm sure it's gonna be fucking wild. How's it going for you?
No, man, it's good. I will say if you're watching on YouTube, this is not a white beer. It is a white tank top. I just realized that you can literally see my shoulders and head. So, but
What?
it's hot.
I can't concentrate when I see your shoulders.
I try. I try. Is it the scars on this one or the tattoos on the other one?
Yes.
No, my sister and nephew's been down since Thursday. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and today I've spent a minimum of 4 hours at the Andor Beach.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so been drinking a lot, probably too much beer at the pool slash beach. So
I killed a fucking whole handle of Southern Comfort last like 2 days. So like, and I'm here now. So it's the summer.
yeah,
It doesn't count.
I got some water next to me. On top of that, I'm on different antibiotics for Lyme disease stuff. It's stronger than what they give you to kill STDs. So I should probably be drinking more water than alcohol, and I have not done that this weekend. So
Hmm. Two birds, one stone though. That's cool.
it took me a second to get that one.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm on one
no,
today, so be ready.
yeah, no, I mean it's good. It's just hot. It's real hot out. The UV index has been ridiculous, so even though I've showered every night, I feel like I have a week's worth of sunscreen on me, so that's fun.
Hmm. Oddly enough, I'm shirtless and I'm red as fuck. So let's go.
Do you have an embroidered logo on your chest? Hell
I
yeah.
can't say whether I do or not.
Hell yeah.
No comment. I would be dumb enough to have one. I had a Jordan Jumpman tattoo on my leg for a good 10 years. So yeah. Thanks, bye, Andrew.
Can you hear us?
No.
Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yeah. I would switch over my AirPods rather than the wired headphones, so sometimes it takes like two tries to get it working.
Yeah, I got
So
it.
it's all good.
How you go? How's it going?
Good, good, good. So we got Michael and John.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. These are not. So you guys are actually high on Purdue, huh? As
Hey,
the team
Yes, yes.
that makes one of us.
I,
Oh no, oh no. Hey, you know what? For the record, it is John that's high Purdue.
it is.
Okay.
It is. I will admit I did for I
Recreational
mean
drugs?
no, so we do a series every year, Puncher's Chance, teams that underperformed, based on their history the season before. We each picked three teams, and I went through and did hours of research on Purdue, like dug deep in the
Okay.
transfer portal. I was like, man, they've got the talent. And then we talked about it, and at the very end, Mike goes, "What's their schedule look like?" And
It's
then
a nightmare.
I was like, okay, yeah, I may have shot for the moon and not even reached the stars on this one.
There you go.
It's a tough schedule.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Um, but Andrew, do you mind telling the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name, Andrew Ledman. I work over at hammerandrails.com at SB Nation, and I'm also one of the hosts of the Boiler Alert podcast, also part of the Fans First Sports Network.
Awesome, awesome. Um, So, we already kind of hinted at the puncher's chance series. But man, I really do, especially a big part of it was 4-8 last year. Like
Yeah.
that's just nothing close to what,
No.
Purdue should be doing. Um, but we do want to take a look back at 2023 for just a minute. So, what went wrong last year?
I mean, a lot of things. So Purdue lost a lot when Jeff Brom left, when he went to Louisville. Um, it- it- Purdue fans have a real strange relationship with Jeff Brom at this point because he came into Purdue at a very, very low point with Daryl Hazel, being fired and just playing absolutely abysmal under Daryl Hazel. And he came in, Brom, and brought us back all the way to our very first and only Big Ten championship game. We lost to Michigan, but hey, no, there's no harm in losing to Michigan in a football game. But then he was off to Louisville. And the problem is he took a lot of guys with him. Because these were all guys that he'd recruited. These were all guys he'd brought in for his specific system. And anytime you lose your coach, you're going to lose a certain percentage of guys that just kind of bolt with him. So Purdue was kind of out in the cold there. And then suddenly they had injuries to the offensive line, lost a wide receiver for academic reasons, another wide receiver who we were hoping to have come back. He had like 2 knee surgeries 2 seasons ago, just couldn't come back. And then it just felt like it was one thing after another, and they never got on track. There were bright spots here and there, but overall it just wasn't the team that we'd seen the year before, like you guys said to start the episode here.
So how much did it hurt to lose Jeff Brom to Louisville?
I mean, it hurt a lot because, like I said, he came in at such a terrible time for Purdue football. Daryl Hazel, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with his work, uh, wore his hats terribly. They were like square. So that's one thing. But also just a terrible coach, couldn't recruit very well. And the guys he could recruit who, could play, he didn't get much out of. So when he was fired, everybody cheered. It was a big sigh of relief. And then you bring in Jeff Brom, a guy who was at Western Kentucky beforehand, obviously had a career in the XFL, has the famous
Yeah,
clip of let's play football.
love
And
it.
so it's like, hey, this guy's got an edge. He can bring some people in. He can excite the fan base, and he did all that. But there was always the feeling that he was going to go back to Louisville, because that's where his family's from. That's where his dad's from. His brother, he played there, and they're like royalty in Louisville. So there was always the thought that he was going to leave, and it didn't happen one year. And then there was rumblings the next, and then finally he did. And it hurt a lot to lose him because he really did invigorate Purdue football like it hadn't been since Joe Tiller, in the early 2000s. So it hurt in that sense. But I mean, Jeff Brom wasn't perfect either. He had a lot of flaws. Couldn't keep a defensive coordinator at all. Just ran through them. Really struggled to recruit at a couple positions, specifically one, the offensive line. Could never really get a coherent line put together. Kind of use just like patch after patch of player coming in for just like one season and hoping they would work out, and got lucky sometimes, and some other years it was kind of not as good as we wanted it to be.
So, moving on to 2024, before the post spring update where Bill Connolly takes transfers and other things into account, Purdue was 96th in returning production, 56% on offense, 46% on defense. But after the update, they moved up to 63rd with 71% on the offensive side of the ball and 55% on the defense. So, getting into position stuff, the Boilermakers were middle of the pack in sacks allowed at 60th last year. How much do you think the offensive line transfers will make a difference?
I mean, I don't think they have a choice. They have to. As I said, that Brom was not a great offensive line recruiter. He didn't develop guys. We had guys who just did not really belong on an offensive line playing even in the seasons where Purdue did well by their standards. So they're going to get thrown out there regardless. Gus Hartwig, thank goodness, came back for Purdue, coming off injuries to his knees. He's going to be come back anchoring that offensive line at center, and he can play elsewhere on the line, but we don't want him to because he's a very, very good center. But the only good thing, and I think you see this at a lot of schools, is when you have injuries on the offensive line, it forces you to play guys at multiple positions. And then that pays dividends down the road because then you can kind of shuffle them from, left tackle to right tackle, put them in the guard if they, really belong there. But Purdue has a lot of guys with experience on the offensive line now. It's just a matter of whether they can gel as a unit.
All right, sorry. So y'all had some sneaky rate running back transfers along with Devin Maccabee. I'm probably saying his name wrong. Back in 2024, how good can the running back or the running game be this year?
So I think the running back, along with the tight end, really will be the strength of the offense this year. As you said, Reggie Love the third was a guy who is coming in from Illinois. We assume there's a connection there, because obviously Ryan Walters was formerly the defensive coordinator over there at Illinois, and now we're bringing some Illinois players, which, kind of what happened to Purdue when Brom left. It's just the nature of the game these days. But with Love and with Maccabee, I think Purdue has a real opportunity to have a strength back there. Maccabee had a really good freshman season, a breakout season. He was a walk-on, came on, surprised everybody, and really earned a lot more snaps. And then his sophomore season, everybody thought it was going to be no-brainer. It was going to be all him. He was going to be the guy to carry the offense in the running back position. And then he had a real problem with fumbling the football. Fumbled multiple times in a couple games. And that's a real good way to get yourself benched. And, he found himself on the bench in a couple key scenarios. But Purdue had another guy, Tyrone Tracy Jr., who was able to pick up a lot of the slack when Maccabee was having those fumble problems. Now, Maccabee will return, and hopefully he can solve that problem of the fumbles because, that's just something you can't do. You can't just continuously turn the ball over, especially when you're a high volume guy like Maccabee. I mean, he's expected to get 15, 20 carries, maybe a game. So we hope he can do that. And then Reggie Love, the third, is the guy coming in from Illinois. As I said, he is supposed to be able to come in and kind of maybe play a 1-2 punch with Maccabee. So those two, I would think, would be the ones who are going to make the biggest difference. And Reggie Love maybe one of the biggest impact players on the offensive end from a transfer perspective.
So, this may be a hot take, but I think Purdue may have the deepest wide receiver transfer class in the country, and if not, definitely top 5. They got a lot of good guys into the program this year. So who is the guy that was on the team in 2023 to keep an eye on?
So one of the guys, he is a transfer, but he came in, he transferred 2 seasons ago and then got injured. So he didn't actually get a play last year. And his name is Erdine. He's from Florida Atlantic. Or I'm sorry, Edrine. He's from Florida Atlantic, and he was kind of expected to make a big jump last season. Jamal Edrine, he was expected to play last year, maybe even start, and then he injured his knee kind of in camp. I think it was in the spring. And he is coming back, and he is one who we're all really excited to see because he was getting a lot of good press before the injury. And we just, Purdue might have a lot of guys who came in at wide receiver, but I don't think we know much about them as far as who's going to make an impact. I know you guys sent me an outline kind of what you want to talk about. And one thing you listed, is the guys who are coming in from Georgia for Purdue. And it's always great if you're Purdue to have guys who have, SEC experience or big name college football experience. And there are few bigger names right now in college football than Georgia. But when you get those guys to come in, you got to ask questions. You got to say, okay, why are they leaving? Were they not productive? Are they being recruited over? What is going on? And when you're getting guys, especially the ones that Purdue's getting younger, when they transfer, you don't really have a lot of answers for that because you haven't seen them on the field at Georgia. You can base it on the recruiting rankings out of high school, but in my opinion, once you get past a certain number, those are kind of crapshoots. So you're relying on who recruited them out of high school, and it helps to get guys from Georgia, but you got to hope that they can make an impact and they can fit into the system that we're trying to run.
All right, so moving on to quarterback, former Texas quarterback Hudson Card, played the most last season. He finished last year with 2,387 yards, 58.9% completion percentage, 15 touchdowns, 8 picks. Is he the guy in 2024, or does he or whoever starts need to improve?
I mean, he is absolutely the guy. There's no question. He's going to be the start from day one. Assuming that nothing horrible happens, God forbid there would be an injury, or he just throws pick after pick after pick, he'll start every game. There's no real quarterback controversy or competition, but he does need to play better. I think a lot of our fans understand that he was brought in last year, and I've said it a number of times. We didn't have a great offensive line last year. So when you're the quarterback and so much of that pressure is put on you, you're going to be scrambling. You're going to try to be making difficult throws because you don't have very many options. And when you got the issues that Purdue had last year with the injured offensive line and some real problems at the wide receiver position, you're going to be making difficult throws to maybe not your favorite targets. And I think he found himself kind of throwing from a bad position a lot of times. And Purdue also found themselves down in games early and often last year, as you guys said, 4-8. So Hudson Card was put in a position where they're just like, I don't know, man, you got to throw it. Like you got to make some plays. You got to make something happen. And he went out there, and you can see the talent. You can see he's got a great arm. He can do all the throws. He can throw it deep. He can throw it across the middle. He's got nice touch on the ball. But when you're asked to do so much, you got to have somebody step up to help you. And Card just didn't have enough people do that last year at pretty much any position.
So, moving into the defense, the biggest story for Purdue's defense in the offseason was Nick Scorton leaving for A&M. Is he replaceable?
Not by one guy. I mean, he was incredible last year. And this is why I both love and hate the transfer portal. I'm a guy who I've long advocated for the athletes to get paid because this is a multi-billion-dollar business, and without athletes, it's nothing. What are you going to do? No one's going to watch. So I've long advocated for the players to get paid, and then you look at it, and it ends up hurting a team like Purdue football for the most part. We don't know how things will shake out with the new NCAA settlement and all that, but for now, you see guys who come in who weren't necessarily very, hugely recruited by the Blue Bloods or anything like that. Purdue brings them in, coaches them up, they put him in good position. He succeeds. He does a great job in his sophomore season, and then you just like that, he's on. As soon as you get like the big eyes of like, oh, he could be the next guy in the defensive ends at Purdue, and then suddenly he's gone back to Texas A&M, and he was such a force last year that you're not going to be able to replace his production with one guy. It's going to have to be a team effort. They're going to have to do their best to scheme around it, because I don't know that Purdue has the same kind of dominant guy who can get to the quarterback like Sword was. They've got guys who are going to be, who are going to get to the quarterback, who are going to be good, but no one to the level of Nick Sword. I mean, if you're a longtime Purdue fan, when you watch him, you got shades of someone like Ryan Kerrigan, who dominated so much at Purdue in the mid to late 2000s, and you watch that just kind of walk out the door, and you're like, oh man, we were so close, because like so much of what Purdue needs to do on defense is get to the quarterback, is be able to slow the run, and Scorton did a really good job at both of those things because he was such a chaotic force and was such a disruptor. And when you lose a guy like that, it's hard to just kind of snap your fingers and bring anyone else in.
So Purdue was 43rd in rushing defense in 2023. What do they need to do to maintain or improve in 2024?
One thing is they got to have the linebacker step up. One guy, Yanni Karloftis, he is the brother of George Karloftis, who is on the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's the younger brother, so there's always a lot of pressure on when you come in after your brother, who had such a big career and did such a great job. And he started to come on at the end of his season last year, so there's a lot expected of him coming into this year. He's not as big as George, but he's about as fast. He's got very good footwork, so there's a hope that he can kind of fill the role of kind of patrolling the field from that linebacker position. But overall, I mean, it's finding the players on defense, especially the defensive line, that can be big stoppers, that can fill those gaps. Because losing Scorton hurts, and losing a couple other guys hurt. It's so hard to keep track of everything that has come and gone in college football these days, because you see guys for like 2 seasons, you start to get to know them, you start to realize their potential, and then they're gone, and you're like, I can't even keep track of where they are and who's here. So it's just it makes it difficult to even know what you're looking forward to in this coming season. But Purdue has a lot of work to do on I think all units on defense except for maybe the backfield, the corners and safeties, which is a distinct change from where Purdue has been in the recent past.
So you got a perfect segue there because passing defense is where Purdue struggled most last year, coming in at 95th, allowing an average of 241.5 yards per game. But with guys coming back and the transfers, I can't not mention Nyland Green because he was potentially fighting for a starting spot this year and now is up in Purdue. So how much can the secondary improve?
I think the sky's the limit for the secondary. We've got Dylan Thieneman coming back, who was an All-American, surprise All-American freshman, a hard-hitting safety, and then as you said, we've got the corners coming in from Georgia. We've got a 4 or 5-star guy who just reclassified to come into Purdue, and he's a cornerback, and people are talking about he might be able to start right away. So it's going to be, it seems like basically an incredibly talented secondary, a lot of speed, not a lot of, if I'm remembering correctly, not a lot of height. But you find that a lot because if they were taller, they'd be wide receivers, right? Everybody would rather be a wide receiver. So there's a lot of talent, a lot of speed, and it's going to be, I think, really, it could, except for Thieneman, be a whole new secondary, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing as you just went through those numbers. But I think Purdue will have more talent in their secondary than they've had maybe in like a decade.
So the 2024 schedule is absolutely brutal, like we mentioned at the top of the show. But what is a realistic expectation for Purdue in 2024?
See, that's tough because of the schedule, like you said. I do think this team is going to be better than last year. It's just a matter of, will you, like, if you're an uninformed person who just like in 6 months goes and looks back at what Purdue did, if they end up 4-8 again, you're gonna be like, oh, they didn't improve at all. They're the exact same record. But I think most people who watch will be able to see that it will be a much better team, but the schedule is just so brutal. It almost feels like best case scenario is almost 6-6. I mean, it's just there's no, the Big Ten is just going to be brutal for Purdue going forward, and it's adding the West Coast teams and then adding the not only just the teams itself, but the travel all the way across the country. So for those who don't know, just a quick rundown of who Purdue plays.
I know. I just looked it up too. Oh my God.
Yeah. So they start the season. Indiana State should be easy victory. Then Notre Dame comes in. Then they go to Oregon State. Then they play Nebraska. Then at Wisconsin, at Illinois, Oregon at home, Northwestern at home, at Ohio State, play Penn State, at Michigan State, and then IU on the road. So, thankfully we don't play Michigan, I guess.
Michigan's beatable this year.
They are, yeah, sure. They are, yeah.
Sure. I mean, more beatable than last year, but
sure.
I mean, it's going to be a very tough season. I think if you, I've always been a real optimist about Purdue sports and about basically life in general. That's just the kind of guy I am. But I mean, you look at it, you say to yourself, okay, we can beat Indiana State. I don't know enough about Oregon State to say whether we can beat them or not, but going on the road to Oregon State seems like it's going to be tough.
They lost a lot of people with Jonathan Smith leaving.
And Kyle's to Michigan State too. So I mean, the travel itself is gonna be difficult, but we'll see. We'll see.
And then I mean, maybe we could beat Nebraska. We've done really well against Nebraska.
All the delegation are Purdue fans on that day, especially if Dylan Ryle is the quarterback.
Absolutely.
I'm sure. And I mean, Purdue going into Wisconsin, not going to win that game. Haven't beaten Wisconsin since 2003. So
not really.
Yeah,
we will be saying since 2024 next year.
Well, I hope you're right. So Illinois, Purdue could beat Illinois. Purdue could. I mean, they're going to beat Oregon at home, but they could beat Northwestern.
Yeah.
At Ohio State seems like a real nightmare. Penn State at home. Baby. Hey, we've done well against Ohio. We have more wins against Purdue has more wins against Ohio State in the last decade than any team.
So, that's true. That hurts me as somebody who grew up in Michigan. That grew up a Michigan fan. That's kind of painful.
So you never know. So I mean, then maybe you could see a win against Michigan State on the road and at IU on the road. So you're looking at maybe 5 wins. And that's
Penn State is a slow adopter to the forward pass. So
it might be like 12-3 in that one. So anytime you get a Penn State Iowa game, that's where the real action is.
I put a lot of money on Iowa unders all of last year.
And you probably won a lot of money.
I did. I put money on the under when the over-under was 12.5 and won.
I almost had the over on that just because I was like, surely, come on. And I can believe it.
And I live my life by, life's too short to be over, but I was this year.
Yeah, no,
They started behind the game touchdown. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. And they were still winning games.
Yeah, I mean, they got the Big Ten championship last year, right?
Where they scored 0 points.
Yes, they did.
We were on that game too.
I mean, if there's a team that's hurt by the elimination of the division, it's probably Iowa.
Could be. I mean, Purdue too, because there's no I don't see a scenario where Purdue gets back to the championship game, maybe even in my lifetime. I mean, top two, you got to finish top 2 in the Big Ten with Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, Oregon, UCLA, USC. I don't know.
It's gonna be tough, yeah. Yeah.
So, last question, and it's not football related, but will Purdue drop off in basketball next year?
I mean, yeah, but drop off from winning Big Ten by 3 games, getting to the national title game. You're gonna have to. It would be impossible to think otherwise. Plus, you're losing a 2-time consensus National Player of the Year in Zach Edey. But I think they're going to surprise a lot of people because I can talk about this, but people have said for the last 10 years, because Purdue has had a 7-footer on the team for the last 10 years. It's like, oh, as soon as he's gone, Purdue's going to fall off. Well, as soon as he's gone, it was AJ Hammons, then it was Haas, then it was Matt Harms, then it was Trey Lance, then it was Zach Edey. And as the Hunter knows, he roams the countryside and asks people, have you heard Tell the Giants? And then he gets on the team. So he's got, we've got Wilberg, who's over 7 foot tall on the team. We've got another guy coming in who's currently on the USA under-18 team, over 7 foot. And Purdue's going to be just fine, but maybe not, win the Big Ten by 3 games fine like they've done the last 2 years.
Is Matt Painter better than Tom Izzo at this point?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
He's going to be better, as of right now, the 2 of them head-to-head. Historically, of course, Izzo has a much better career and much more success. But if you're talking about in the year 2024, who's the better coach? It's Matt Painter.
Thank you. Okay, I'll take it back when I go back to Michigan this week.
Take it.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming and talking to us. Is there anything you'd like to plug before you get out of here?
Hey, go listen to Boiler Alert. We're still doing basketball, man. We're going through all the basketball roster. We start football as late as we can on the Purdue site most times. And go read hammerandrails.com. We got football and basketball content over there all year round. So, just thank you guys for having me on. It's always fun to talk sports with you guys.
Oh.
What's Georgia? We meet January, end of January to talk about them. So yeah.
Oh, no, ever since Tom Green left. What is there to talk about?
Defense.
Yeah. The only thing I think Tom Green brought was Andy Edwards, and that. I will think that to make him a sweet team with Andy Edwards and Nick Claxton that year, but derail them both. That's the whole story.
Tom Green, as every fan I've thinking about you. If I remember Tom Green doing laughing, pointing at the cameras all the time, and the gift that will always live in infamy of him adjusting his pants. I think what I can't remember if it was Ryan Smith or Ryan. I think it was Ryan Smith. Just one of the most. He seemed like one of the most bizarre human beings you could ever meet in your life. Nothing. He was talking to an espresso shot. I
mean, he's your father's brother-in-law.
So I will say, when he was coaching in Athens, the Mellow Mushroom downtown, he walked in, sat by himself, ordered an entire pizza. I don't remember what kind it was, with no cheese. And that's just the kind of person I don't want coaching him.
So hold on. You tell me he's getting a pizza with sauce and topping.
Yeah.
What? Wow. Okay. All right.
Also, for him to get paid as much as he did not drive that nice car. I was a little disappointed.
Oh, I mean, you want to talk not driving? Jeff Brom drove that Honda Civic. He still does, I think.
Wow.
To me, there's a difference between a lunch pail guy kind of car, be from A to B, I don't care, to driving a 5-year-old Lincoln car where it tries to be nice, but it's not.
I gotta correct myself. It was a Honda Accord he had, not a Honda Civic.
Okay, so a little bit better. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit nicer, but still, yeah. That's just you're just being performative. Everyone knows you're making $5 million a year. There's no reason for you to be driving that car. I'm not saying you have to get a Bugatti or something, but get even I'm driving a nicer Kia. What are you doing?
Oh, I'm a gym teacher. I have a fucking Expedition.
Right.
Now, granted, it's as much as my house payment, but yeah.
Well, worst comes to worst, you can live it.
Hell yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. I bet you don't make $4 to $5 million a year, though, do you?
Nope. I wish. And even if I did, I'd probably still drive that. It has not seen a top in 3 years, and I've put 600 miles on it since I bought it. I drive the beach and drive it home.
Well, there you go.
All right, we're gonna talk a little bit of baseball from the Super Regional. So if you want to go ahead and get out of here, we appreciate coming on and talking to us.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you, sure.
All right. I learned a lot. I'm still hopeful about Purdue. I truly am. But hopeful is not 8-4. Hopeful is 6-6, because
still better than last year though.
Still better. So here's the thing. Indiana State, I'm chalking that up as a win.
Better for you.
Notre Dame.
It's at home. It's in West Lafayette.
It is, and I cannot for the life of me remember the Duke quarterback from last year that transferred in.
Right, Leonard, right? Yeah.
Yes. Not sold on him as being a passer. Just gonna be honest. I'm not sold on it. Mm-hmm. If they can stop the run, maybe even throw in a little safety blitz, corner blitz situation. I like that option. We'll put that.
I like maybe. Especially if the secondary's a relative strength. Okay.
Yeah, put that as maybe. We're at 1.5 wins.
Okay.
Oregon State, they lost too much. I don't even know who their coach is at this point. Their coach left for Michigan State.
They may not have a head coach at this point. I don't know.
I'll call that a zombie program, because if your coach is leaving for Michigan State, you got problems.
For shits and gigs, this game is on the CW, so it's gonna be standard definition.
we're talking 360p on that one. So we'll say 2.5 wins, right?
Okay.
Nebraska, still don't trust them. Biggest reason I don't trust them, they have Scott Satterfield, who put up one of the worst offenses in South Carolina history with a true freshman quarterback, an offensive line that's questionable.
And they got freshman Dylan Raiola, so
Yep.
fuck them, right?
3.5 wins. Wisconsin,
Yep.
I don't necessarily trust Wisconsin, but he did say that they have not beaten Wisconsin since like 2003. So, still 3.5 wins.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. That's a long time ago, yeah.
Illinois, 4.5. Don't need to go further than that. Oregon, loss. Northwestern, let's call it 5.5. We're already over what we were at last year.
Northwestern was scrappy last year. Like they made a bowl last year. They came close to it, right?
No, they won. I won't say they won a bowl game, but
So, yeah. After all the shit they went through the previous offseason, they still got to a bowl game.
still calling it a win. We're 5.5.
Okay.
Ohio State.
At
Ohio State, probably a loss.
Probably.
Penn State, probably a loss, but I'm not confident in saying that. And then you're going to finish out the season with 2 dubs, Michigan State, Indiana. Call it 7.5 wins.
I like it, though. I like it.
Hey,
for me, when I was growing up, like Purdue, when I think of Purdue, I think of, kind of calling out my age here, I think of the Drew Brees era where like they were just like beating people like all the time and they had no business beating them. So I'm still like a little bit skittish on them, like whenever I see them on the schedule, because it's like, oh, it's Purdue, even though they've been capable of being Spoilermakers and they've done it, plenty of times. But
so I went back and watched the highlights of when they just beat the daylights out of Ohio State.
I did too,
know how many names I recognized from that game on the Purdue side?
Can't be many, right?
It was 0.
Yeah.
They don't have to be good. They just got to be better than you today.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, we got a message from fans first. So baseball, right? Do you have anything you want to talk about on baseball before I get going? Because I got a little bit of a rant. I typed it up.
I mean, at this point, it looks like it's Gainesville, so boo to that.
Yes.
I mean, Oregon, as of this recording, it's the bottom of the 4th. Oregon's up 7-4 over Texas A&M, which they'll tie it up and they were playing on Monday. Yeah. Florida did beat Clemson, which I'm almost sure you're going to talk about a little bit, right?
No, that's not my rant.
Oh, that game was fun to watch, though.
That was such a good game. And Clemson thought they had done it. They hit that solo shot, and then 2 of their coaches get ejected for their player celebrating too much. I don't understand that.
That's so anti-college baseball. It's ridiculous.
While we're on this subject, in college sports, there should never, ever be any sort of penalty for celebration. Unless you're sitting over there, like, in the dude's face yelling at him. If it doesn't involve a player from the other team, no, you can't celebrate too much.
Right. 100% agree.
Especially when you're in the, 13th inning, and you hit a solo shot to take the lead. Like, no, there's no such thing as too much celebration in that situation.
So, before you keep going on with that, or you go on with that, you saw the catch that the Clemson center fielder had, right?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Willie Mays-esque. Maybe even better.
Yeah. No, that was insane. I was watching that game, the end of it at least, while we were grocery shopping this afternoon.
Yeah.
So on to the Georgia thing. So in this super regional, we've seen NC State at their absolute best. Yep. Their pitching in game 1 was insane. Their bats were the hottest they've been all season. The good news is that game 2, we saw Georgia at an average Georgia level win that game 11-2.
Yep.
The way those boys played on Saturday was not their best. Not all cylinders were firing. They had 2 errors in an 11-2 win. Charlie only got 1 hit, but the pitching held the Wolfpack, and they won big. Georgia used 2 pitchers.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
They used 3 pitchers yesterday, which is Saturday for you guys, and 2 today. So if the boys play at 70% of their ability, NC State didn't win that game. Our team at their absolute best, there might be one team going to Omaha that could beat this team at their best. You can ask for a perfect game, but I can tell you that as the fans, we're asking for almost everything they're able to give us this late in the season. Slay the damn Wolfpack, every single one of them. The women, the children, I don't give a damn. Let's go to Nebraska and show Dylan Raiola what the fuck he's missing.
Let's go.
We're into baseball this year. I know.
We are, man. I learned so much about college baseball this year.
I did too. I'm excited. Really, really hoping it's at least a late afternoon game. Mm-hmm. I do not want a noon game as a person with a job. Because I promise you, it will be on my phone and in my headphones, and I won't be paying attention to much shit.
So the building burns down in Savannah because the sprinkler system not working. It's your fault.
No. I'll throw a yellow tag.
You know what? I mean,
I will do my job with 100% of my ability. It will just take longer because I will be taking breaks to watch the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't know what time it's playing yet, right? As of this recording.
As of 9:09 p.m. on Sunday, it has not been announced.
That's wild. If I was a player and like it was 9 o'clock at night, they're like, you know what, you're gonna play at noon tomorrow. I'd be fucking mad if I
I
didn't know
guarantee you,
that.
they're just prepping to play at noon.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, they better be. Yeah.
That's gonna do it for this episode of the Nothing Finder podcast. If you haven't already, follow us on social media at nothing.finder.pod on Instagram, at finderpod on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Just search us there. On TikTok, we are Nothing Finder Podcast. Share the show with your friends if you haven't, and if you have, tell the friends. You have more friends. I promise. Go look at your Facebook, click on the friends thing, it tells you how many you got. Share us.
For the shot.
Go ahead.
No, that's what shot. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, just send a message, create a group chat with every one of your Facebook friends, and send
No,
it.
appreciate it. No, definitely appreciate it and be receptive of it. Yes.
Especially all of the old grandmothers that respond to the group chat of 500, 600, 700 people. They'll be so happy about it.
Absolutely.